So look, I think the truth must come out, how the exporters have treated these farmers who are now moving away from exporters to agro-marketing authority. So I think let's talk it out, let's stress it out. And what is the real issue about agro-marketing, collecting produce from interior and maritime, where these exporters are refusing to go and collect, despite my writing to them and inviting them to come and join us, to go and sign up with these people in the interior and maritime and collect produce. They say, no, you give us money, then we'll go. So look, let's talk it out. That's why I'm here.
So today is a Fiji Farmers Forum organized here at South Sea Orchids, and we have members of farmer organizations from around Fiji coming in to represent their farmers. And the idea is basically to come in, convene, network, and learn from each other, but also learn about the effects of COVID on our sector, and provide a space where everyone can talk and take things forward. The first Fiji Farmers Forum was organized in 2017, and at that time it was the Assistant Minister who graced the event. 2020, we were privileged and blessed to have the Honorable Dr. Reddy come in person and actually address the farmers at our forum today.
Tei Tei Taveuni recently held an open farmers forum at the South Sea Orchids venue hall in Nadi. Present were farmers from all over the country.
One of the takeouts from this is basically to emphasize the role of farmer organizations in our sector. For us, we advocate for farmer organizations, the importance of grouping farmers together as a formal organization, and the farmer organizations helping the farmers in their members. Yeah. So today it's the leaders of these organizations, of these farmer groups, of these farmer organizations, coming in, bringing in their farmer members' issues and talking about it as a collective group, and then hopefully we will have a Fiji Farmers Forum communique at the end of the day that the farmers collectively can say, yes, collectively these are our issues.
In a rare open forum with the Minister for Agriculture, Dr. Mahendra Reddy, the farmers did not hold back when asking the tough questions.
So what I'm really asking is, if I could have an audience with yourself or your permanent secretary to discuss the way forward, because I can see some mushroom growers that attended the training here sitting in this house, and I'd really like to see the mushroom growers really forge forward as a short-term crop.
In his opening address, Dr. Reddy spoke on the argument of why it is thought that agriculture should be supported because it is solely important for livelihoods, and why he argues otherwise.
I argue that we should call for support to agriculture given its national importance, given its strategic importance to Fijian economy as it was. Some people are kind of misinterpreting statistics and saying that agriculture sector is declining. In fact, agriculture sector has never declined in terms of its output. Agricultural output has, in a real term, has been increasing. But its contribution to the overall output has been declining. It's a normal phenomenon because over time, other sectors have expanded, and they have taken an increasing share of the total output. So, for example, 5 decades ago, agriculture's contribution was about 50% or so. Now, at that time, the other sectors, the industrial, manufacturing and service sectors, was not that well developed. So agriculture was the major contributor to the economy, the single largest contributor to the economy. But over time, as agriculture, as other sectors started to grow, then obviously agriculture's contribution to GDP started to decline. But that doesn't mean agricultural output in real terms was declining. Now, going back to the argument about increasing investment or increasing budgetary allocation to agriculture sector, my argument is that when the agricultural output increases, then all those who are engaged in the agriculture sector to various factor and product market, let's say labor, those who supply land, those who supply various other inputs, the financial sector, all of them will benefit. And in this equation, livelihood issue will be dealt with. So if you just argue agricultural support based on the livelihood issue, you are underscoring the importance of agriculture sector. Grossly underscoring the importance of agriculture sector. So I am arguing that look, agriculture should be supported, agricultural growth should be expended in national interest, and the surplus that is created by the growth of agriculture sector, that surplus will be redistributed amongst all those who participate in the agricultural growth process. They participate through as a labor, as a farmer, as an entrepreneur, as those who are providing various inputs. Those who provide, let's say, organic manure will benefit through the sales to the agriculture sector. Those who supply labor will benefit through increased wages and salary. Those who supply land will benefit through increased rental rates. On the second objective, we kind of changed the ministry's paradigm in terms of saying that look, instead of, it's very important for farmers to understand this, instead of incentivizing and promoting and pushing agriculture growth based on subsidies and grants, we are saying that that is not sustainable. And that is what I term as a dependent agriculture or a bubble agriculture. And it will burst some point in time because subsidies and grants are never permanent. Its longevity is pushed or created through the political equation. So I'm saying, and it's very important that our farmers, agricultural entrepreneurs understand that an agriculture sector based on subsidies and grant, which is always supposed to be temporary, is not sustainable, and that paradigm won't work. And that is why, at the moment, we are struggling. Now we are changing the paradigm. We're saying, let's incentivize farmers by getting market to them, by providing market signal to them. Now, let me give you a simple example. Why has sugar industry for so long survived? Why has sugar industry for so long survived? A number of reasons. One is, sugar is a crop which can survive, hardy weather conditions. That's why, the Western Division, sugar is, grown in a large scale. Number two is that it is quite less labor intensive. But the single most important reason, despite farmers arguing every now and then that the return is not very high, and I don't want to get in detail with it, it's a different ministry, but the single most important reason why farmers, despite all those issues that they're raising every now and then, they're stuck to it because they've got a guaranteed market. And for agricultural farmers, agricultural entrepreneur, the most important worry to the farmer is, and you ask anyone, is that effort, the resources that are devoted over the last 6 months or 1 year, whatever the crop cycle is, will I be able to sell the produce and cash in? And therefore, the most important issue for any farmer is market.
Up next.
We will do our best to get the market to you by working very closely with the exporters, and we will try to get to you those public infrastructure that you as individual farmers may be difficult, and we will treat it as public.
I'm very thankful, and I think it's very timely that we can come together as farmer organizations, as public sector development partners to talk about COVID-19 and agriculture, and especially seizing opportunities. And we are so grateful to have such support from our Ministry of Agriculture, but also from the farmer organizations. Some of you traveled from far away, from Taveuni, from Vonulevu, to come and to be a part of it. And I just want to assure you that the forum is meant to give you also an opportunity to share your views and to share the issues that you're facing, but all together collectively with a focus on what are the opportunities, what are the actions we can take to support our farmers. So I want to thank you guys very much, and I look forward to a very great forum today.
The recent Fiji Farmers Forum organized by Tei Tei Taveuni featured keynote speakers such as the Minister for Agriculture Dr. Mahendra Reddy, climate change expert Dr. Andrew McGregor, members from the Fiji Beekeepers Association, copra and pineapple farmer Mr. Peter Kia, and various other organizations.
We will do our best to get the market to you by working very closely with the exporters, and we will try to get to you those public infrastructure that you as individual farmers may be difficult, and we will treat it as public goods. Construction of farm roads. And we have also said that we will organize provision of planting materials, expensive nurseries, irrigation support to farmers, machinery support to farmers, and of course market provision and development. So, ladies and gentlemen, over the last 18 months, we have moved on with this paradigm, and we have seen the results which I'm going to shed some light on the output side. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is very important that we look at agriculture in its totality, and we develop a model which is sustainable. We need to build institutions. People come and go, but institutions will remain. And it is important that we do not develop an institution which is not sustainable based on political expediency. So, ladies and gentlemen, I implore on all of you that you treat agriculture as a business, and when I say you treat agriculture as a business, you compare yourself with this corner shop where who builds their shop infrastructure, who gives them the stock, what do they do with their surplus that they create. Then you will get to understand what I mean when I say that we want agricultural entrepreneurs. Of course, that doesn't mean that we are not supporting those subsistence farmers for food security reason. They will be there, they will remain there, we will continue to support them, but we don't want leisure and part-timers to come and say that, look, we need to be bankrolled. We got Fiji Development Bank, we are talking to them, and we're asking them to come and come with us, and let's explain to the farmers what products they are on offer. So I wish you all the best in deliberations today, and I look forward to taking all the hard questions so that we solve all the doubts that you have, and remove all the doubts that you have today. Thank you.
Mrs. Aileen Burness from the South Sea Orchids raised the concerns of why florist and horticulturists were not given the same level of importance as other cash and export crop farmers.
I've got to clearly, I can't disagree with you any less. I suggest that we will organize a kind of a half-day discussion forum, totally at our expense. We'll invite you, all your members, over and come up with a strategy going forward, and we will definitely support floriculture. You can talk to our head of policy here. Sometime back, I think we developed a cabinet paper last year to allocate some resources to support floriculture. It is a growing and developing industry. I fully agree with you, and it has now taken up a very important place as an industry on its own. So you have my full support. Can your members have my full support, and we will develop a policy around it after the half-day forum that we will organize. You want it in Suba, we will do it there. You want it in West, we will do it there at our expense.
A question raised by the Fiji Crop and Livestock Council was regarding air freight services to the US market.
And they gave us a price for $4 US, $4 US. It's 8 Fiji dollar. And we like that price. So he did some sample. So we sent him the sample. We sent the sample to New York. And it cost us $700 to send 5 kg dried beans for the sample. So we spent $500. And he need to buy a ton of Fiji cocoa. So I don't know how much it will cost for the freight. We sent it through DHL Express, and we spent $700 there. So I really like the point that McGregor was raising up about the freight for the products being exported.
I had wanted to make a budget submission last year, and I met the exporters at our Lega conference facility, and I had asked them if they could submit to me their proposal on what they want to see in the budget. Budget has come and gone. To date, I haven't received any submission from them. I would want to get a submission from the exporters before I talk to the Minister for Economy, whether we could probably put some a special request to some of the development partners. We've got the resident here who have supported us a lot in the livestock sector as well. To until, let's say, up till June next year, probably a small percentage of the freight cost could be subsidized or picked up. So we might, there's other pockets of money outside that we could make the submission. But it's important that we get a submission from exporters so that, I also can have the ammunition with me. I implore on you to, if we could organize the exporters to get me. I think that probably that in the interim that could be the main submission, but more detailed submission for the next budget could come later.
Farmer Lavinia Kolmaitotoya then raised the question about short-term land leases in agriculture.
My question to you, Minister, is as a farmer, I'd like to invest commercially in my Votolevu farm, which has 30 years. But it's pretty challenging because it's only 30 years. Can your ministry help in liaison with the Ministry of Lands and the Itauke to help us farmers who have short-term leases in agriculture to extend the leases so that when it's extended, we can really invest commercially into our farms?
There was a issue that we ourselves had raised with Honorable Prime Minister, who is the chairman of ETLTV board. And we had a submission by ETLTV to the cabinet about a couple of months ago. It was more on rental rates and renewal fees. Now, I had also raised this issue with ETLTV separately because from last year, we are now going big time into establishing orchards, fruit tree orchards. Because at the moment, most of the fruits, apart from papaya and a few others, we don't have orchards. It's wildly grown. Of course, one of the good things is that they're all organic. For example, breadfruit. Breadfruit is totally 100% the breadfruit you get is organic. And we want to establish orchards. Now, if you want to establish mangosteen orchard, it takes 13 years for mangosteen to fruit. So we will need longer term lease for orchards, for tree crops in particular. So I see that as a binding constraint for investment in agriculture and certain crops which are long term in nature, and livestock as well, let's say beef cattle and dairy cattle. So it's something on our discussion table, but we haven't really moved forward on that. I suggest that in this forum, once we come up with resolutions, that should be one of those, because I can use that as well. While I'm taking your concern raised now, but I also suggest that it comes out as a resolution of this forum. So it'll help me in the discussion with ELTB and Honorable Prime Minister as the chair of ETLTB board.
Up next, more questions asked at the Fiji Farmers Forum. In an open Q&A with farmers from around the country at the recently held Fiji Farmers Forum, Minister for Agriculture Dr. Mahendra Reddy gracefully facilitated an honest discussion with the farmers, taking on board their concerns and queries. The Fiji Crop and Livestock Council posed the question of curfew passes for farmers travelling long distances to get to the supermarket.
I would like to thank you very much for the assistance that you have done to the farmers. This year, we have a very hard time through those three disasters, flood and also this COVID-19. We would like to thank you very much for your support to all the farmers down there in Singapore for the 66. The second thing that I really want to inform you today about the curfew hours. Normally of curfew hours, if it's possible for our local supply out to all the corridors in Fiji, because right now English cabbage, we planted a lot of English cabbage right up in the Singapore Valley. We send it out to all corridors. This is a very hard time for us. If there's any availability so that we can have a pass for any time, because we really walk out from the morning till 6 o'clock till the afternoon, and we have to drive like 5 hours up to the supermarket. If there's any possibility, you can accept with us to help us with the pass.
Yes, that's possible. So we just what we need is a formal request so that we can liaise with the Ministry of Health and Fiji Police Force to organize a pass for those of you who need. For that kind of purposes. Yes, possible.
Another farmer from Bua raised her concerns about the poverty of opportunities for farmers outside VT level and the challenges of interacting with the ministry as a woman.
So my question to you is, how challenging or what can you do as a minister to ensure that your research stations in Vanuatu can better support us in terms of diversity? My first question. My second is, as a woman interacting with your ministry, is it really difficult to set up gender desks for us? The first time, I'm a third generation farmer. My grandfather was a commercial cattle farmer, but I didn't want to go into cattle ranching. But the first time I interacted with your ministry, they told me that I should go into horticulture. And of course, as you know, in Vanuatu, we don't have the opportunity of tourism industry, so I have a market access problem. And so if it's possible for your ministry to have people who are trained so that they could handle and support people like myself who are into farming, perhaps, like to explore a bit on the cottage industry as well, and better give us the advice that we need. And maybe the third comment that I'd like to make is on the felling of timber. My farm is on the main road, but the bigger players from the log timber that impact us. Often there is no policy coordination amongst the ministry. So the Ministry of Forestry, Ministry of Itaukei are issuing a felling license, and there is no consultation with those of us who are at the bottom of the scale on how that impacts us. So if they fell up on the hills, then it impacts the rivers, it impacts those of us that rely on that river. And my tribe actually has a catchment for the Fiji Water Authority that also impacts the water levels that go into the catchment. So is it possible to have all the ministries coordinating, even when it comes to the issuing of logging license? Thank you.
Okay, the three questions. Let me answer the last one first. Whenever a logging license is given, the logging company needs to do an environmental impact assessment. For the environmental impact assessment, one component is public consultation. Now, so it's compulsory, they must undertake a public consultation and where public can come and raise the issue. Now, public consultation is undertaken in around that area where the logging will be undertaken. So in the case that you raise, you're saying that you are in the downstream. So certainly, you probably, no one came to you or your area and said that there will be a public consultation upstream. However, it's a requirement that all EI public consultation are advertised in the papers. So I don't know, again, I need to think, because not always people in the interior will be able to get the paper on time to see that there is a public consultation. So let me think about it, how to address that issue. On the second issue that you raised, again, I need to think, I need to discuss with my team, policy team, and get back to you, because it's something that we haven't thought of, to be honest. Establishing a gender desk and having them trained and skilled to deal with probably some specific issues about also how we respond to. Sometimes our own officers, I agree, probably think that certain areas of farming can only be done by a particular gender. So I think we need to get out of that mindset as well. So we will discuss, we will have a discussion and probably think about it. On the first one, when was the last time you went to the nearest agriculture extension office? 7 months ago. I think that's where you missed out. About in February, March, April, we made the announcement of the two programs. One is the backyard gardening program, where I think we had 2 cycles over 2 months that you go and pick up the seed at no cost to you, all urban and peri-urban households, and do backyard gardening. The second one was farm response package, where you go and ask for planting material, whether it's suckers or cutting or dry seeds. And then about 3 weeks ago, we opened 1st of September, the second round, where you can go to the nearest extension office and say, you want Tausala suckers for 2 acres, planting material. We will give it to you at no cost to you. You don't have to come to here or Nambasa office, anywhere. Or you want yellow cassava cutting for 5 acres. At no cost to you. We will deliver it to the farm. Again, for dry seeds, we may be able to give you within the same day or a couple of days. For cutting and suckers, you need to place the order and we'll organize it. We buy it. We don't carry with us. So things have changed.
You can watch the rest of our Fiji Farmers Forum coverage through our YouTube channel. We'll see you next week.